The views and opinions expressed on the Veterans in Politics radio show and podcast are those of the guests and hosts and do not necessarily reflect those of Vegas All Net Radio, its affiliates, or its parent company.
Well, we're back. This is Steve Sanson and Jim Jonas with another episode of Veterans in Politics. We have two guests today. First guest is going to be Dr. Stephen Frye. He is a psychiatrist, believe it or not, and an author of 25 Reasons We Should Legalize Drugs. Oh, my goodness. I like the marijuana legalization, though. I'm into that, but I don't know about the rest of those other weird drugs out there. But anyways, he'll come and explain all that to us. And then he's also running for Congress, and he doesn't know what congressional district he's running for because nobody knows what the congressional districts are yet because they're redistricting. And then we have Charles Stigger, who is going to let us know how we could clean up those credit reports, Jim, those nasty credit reports everybody's getting hit with. Yeah. Late fees, delinquencies, bankruptcies, foreclosure. Oh my goodness, the list goes on and on. I'm sure 9 out of every 10 persons have one of those bad credit reports out there.
I'm sure they probably do now, Steve. But you know, it's not it's not Obama's economy yet. It's still George Bush's economy. So,
you know, speaking of that, I saw that Dean Heller went after President Obama, saying that he took the presidency when we had a bad economy and he just made it worse. What do you think about that?
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
Actually, my opinion of President Obama right now is a lot of the critics that said he didn't have enough experience to be president of the United States were actually right. But I give him a lot of credit because he won.
He
right?
did win.
You know,
he had Oprah back him.
Yeah.
And that's all you need.
That's all. All you need is Oprah.
All you need is Oprah.
Don't even get me started on Oprah. Personally, I think she's a phony.
Really? She's a billionaire.
She's a billionaire, so I kudos to her for being a billionaire. That's great.
She didn't even get a silver spoon in the mouth. She started from scratch.
And that's great.
Ah.
But now that she's where she is, I know I just have a lot of friends from Chicago that have had interactions with her on a personal level when she doesn't have the cameras and her PR people around, and she doesn't exactly treat people as nice as...
You know money makes phony people.
Yeah.
You know that, right?
Oh, yeah, it sure does. Yeah, speaking of that, so yesterday, I was relaxing, day off.
Right.
So I watching a documentary on the Iraq War, and it kind of got me a little irritated, to say the least.
Really?
But we were following this reporter from BBC went around. He was following the money trail because all the conspiracy theorists out there are talking about how how President Bush and his administration flew the Bin Laden family out of the country right before September 11th, and I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. But then the more I started watching this documentary, and then, of course, there's a built-in bias because it was an anti-Bush thing, right? So you always have to take in biases. But pretty interesting that I found out that, Vice President Cheney was actually mapping out oil fields in Iraq.
Oh, yeah?
To give to different companies here in the United States.
Oh, he's looking out for our interests, right?
So we can own them. And I thought that was pretty interesting. Oh, well, that's a good point, Steve. You could say, looking out for our interests. At the same time, I remember, last weekend was 4th of July, right?
Right.
4th of July weekend. And we were talking about going out and enjoying barbecues and watching fireworks and stuff.
Did you thank your servicemen?
Of course.
Oh, okay.
And then you had brought up the fact that you don't actually go out and watch the fireworks because, it brings back, PTSD stuff, right?
I didn't say all that, no. I said bad memories.
Yeah. So here's the thing, though. So if the politicians are going to map out oil fields, right?
Right.
They need to understand that, now we have, servicemen that can't actually enjoy the 4th of July because of what they have to do to secure those oil fields.
Right.
So my big complaint is just be honest with the American people. Just say, hey, this is what we need to do. We need to secure this oil. And, be honest about it. If you're going to start a war, tell us why you're going to start the war. And then here's a good one. Have an exit strategy.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, I was watching that, and there's a lot of stuff that I didn't agree with one way or the other on it. Bush stole the election. You hear all that stuff all the time. But I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, like the elections that's being stolen in North Las Vegas right now between Councilman Richard Churchill and Wade Wagner.
Yep.
I thought we were having a special election in Precinct 4306 down there, but apparently Judge Elizabeth Gonzalez put a halt on that and said that they have to seat Wade Wagner, forcing the city council to seat him and canvass the vote, which technically the city council reps or council reps down there saying that they can't canvass it because they actually don't know who won. Because he won by one,
right.
Wade Wagner, and they found an illegal vote. So they don't know who exactly won, and they can't canvass the vote, so they want to do a revote, which makes perfectly good sense to me. But I've been hearing a lot about the LDS is getting involved. Why is religion getting involved in races at all? Why is that? Well, why the LDS is getting involved for? You know something? North Las Vegas, 6% of voting population come out and vote, so 94% are not voting.
Right.
And I don't want to sound like I'm discriminatory, but isn't North Las Vegas majority blacks live in North Las Vegas? Shouldn't it be more like the Baptists and the Catholic and maybe the Muslim religion down there controlling the vote, not the LDS?
Well, I haven't had a...
You know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of South Africa. You got a small majority that's white, and the mass populace is black, but
right.
you have the few whites controlling the whole country that's majority black. So where's all the black people? Vote, God damn it, vote.
So Steve, here's a perfect point. This is what you and I and several others have been working on. That's why this radio show is so important, right. Is to get people to understand that if you don't go out and vote, then you are going to let a minority lead you.
Yeah. So you mean, what was all the black people got felonies or something? Their voting rights are taken away from them, or are they all sitting in jail over at CCDC somewhere or in Northtown?
Now that's an interesting point, because the same documentary that I was talking about, that I was watching about how the election was stolen in Florida, was 94,000 black votes were not counted because they were supposedly felons. But find out, interestingly enough, they weren't felons in the state of Florida. Their names were the exact same
of felonies
in other states. So
they're just looking for a reason
to vote out.
Yeah, they're just looking for an excuse. That's all it is. Yeah. You know what and what's going on with this Mayor Sherry Buck? What's her issue? What the hell is wrong with her? She's aligned herself with the police and firefighters union, and the last time, is registered Republicans supposed to align themselves with unions anyways?
Well, I mean, typically they don't.
Typically, since the Eisenhower era. Right. What's going on with that?
Well, she's going to get some money from them.
And then she brings in this Wade Wagner to oust out a sitting councilman. She needs to follow Mayor Goodman's lead and not get involved in doggone council races.
No, I agree.
I just don't. I don't know what the LDS have anything to do with North Las Vegas.
Well, the LDS is actually, if you talk to certain people, they believe that the LDS actually runs this town.
Really? Like the Jewish people runs Manhattan? Is that what it is?
Well, the thing is that they're organized. They do get out and vote. Kind of like with the unions, same thing. I mean, if you look back at history, one of the main reasons why, well, let's look at Harry Reid. how could Harry Reid turn out so many voters so fast? Because he has the unions in his pocket.
Right.
They support him, and they have a great turnout effort. So the LDS, in a lot of ways, are a union.
Well, I don't know. It's just pissing me off.
Yeah, you look a little upset.
Yeah, it's pissing me off.
Calm but upset.
But anyways, yeah. All right, let's. You got any more rants, Jim?
Nah, let's get to our guests.
All right, so let's take a commercial break, and when we come back with Dr. Steve Frye, psychiatrist and candidate for Congressional District. We don't know, because that's another slow process from the work. This is Steve Sanson, Jim Jonas with Veterans in Politics. Don't run away, folks. We'll be back momentarily.
Hey, listen up. If you're a military veteran, if you're related to a veteran, or if you know a veteran, you'll enjoy the Veterans Reporter radio show every Thursday from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. with me. I'm your host, Chuck N. Baker. Every week, we will explore veterans' issues and we'll have guests who will talk about topics of interest to and about the veterans community. And if you don't listen, you'll have to give me 20 push-ups.
This public service announcement is brought to you by Veterans in Politics International. The Veterans in Politics mission is to teach, educate, organize, and awaken our veterans and their families to select, support, and vote intelligently for a better world and to protect ourselves from our own governments and a culture of corruption and to be the political voice for those in other groups that do not have one.
There are too many homeless veterans and more help is needed from the VA. Every veteran service organization post should adopt a local homeless veteran.
The funding of VA medical centers is inadequate and building a VA hospital in southern Nevada is moving at a slow pace. The budget has been flatlined for too many years. The VA is too quick to deny claims and too slow to help veterans gather records in support of claims.
Local politicians ignore veterans and their issues. They perceive a lack of organization among their local veterans and that it won't hurt them at election time. Veterans too often vote party, not veteran issues. All veterans should vote in every election.
The news media give inadequate coverage to veteran issues and events. You must send letters to the editor and voice this concern.
Please contact your members of Congress and Senate and urge them to co-sponsor key legislation in supporting our veterans.
Please support Veterans in Politics. And to get more information, go to www.veteransinpolitics.com.
Americans have been fooled by politicians about illegal immigration. They make you think that if you bring up this topic, you are a racist. Did you know that America is the only country on this planet that does not enforce its federal immigration laws? For the fear of being called a racist. I am for legal immigration. I was born on the island of Jamaica, became an American citizen, served 12 years in the U.S. military, served in Desert Storm, and received a Presidential Unit Citation, National Defense Medal, and Marine Corps Commendation. Our immigration laws serve a purpose. I understand that this country was founded on immigration, but there is a wrong way and a right way. I'm here to tell you that illegal immigration is breaking our federal laws. Why don't you call me a racist? This is Steve Sanson.
Are you a business owner struggling during these economic times? Please listen up. How would you like to put your business and services in front of every resident and business in the Las Vegas Valley for less than a penny per home? Yes, that's right. I said less than 1 cent per home and business. And how would you like to have a dynamic and exciting online presence with the major search engines? How about an online video for your business and a fully optimized website with absolutely no setup fee? Hi, my name is George. If you are interested in these and other services that can make your phone ring with clients and prospects, then call me at 702-296-8394. Just call George at 702-296-8394. Thank you.
What are you doing online?
I'm checking out the belly dance class we took last week.
Where's it at?
TakeBackYourBelly.com.
That's right.
We worked our arms.
We worked our abs.
We worked so hard
and had a blast. No matter what, your shape or size. Come belly dance, you'll be surprised.
For class schedule and location, log on to TakeBackYourBelly.com or call 219-3151.
Well, we're back. This is Steve Sanson, Jim Jonas with Veterans in Politics. We have Live in studio, Dr. Steve Frye, who is an author, retired professor at the University of Nevada School of Medicine. He's a psychiatrist. He's running for Congress. Don't know what district yet. And he's a former Green Beret. And, you know, I'm stunned that the motion pictures didn't ask him to do the Rambo movie instead of Sylvester Stallone.
I agree completely. I would have been much better than Sylvester Stallone. I just don't know. And I have official credentials. I was a Green Beret.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Frye, I know I did a little bit of an intro on you, but could you take it away and just talk a little bit about yourself?
Oh, you want me to brag? Is that what you want me to do?
Go ahead. Tell us how you lived off the land and all kinds of stuff.
No, not the land, the Strip. I live on the Strip.
Well, you couldn't even find the building.
I'm living.
You know what? You're supposed to be a Green Beret, find your way through the jungles and deserts and whatever, and you can't find a standing building in Las Vegas?
I'm living the dream here in Las Vegas. This is it, living the dream.
And I know you have GPS in your car.
I do, yes.
Yeah.
I do indeed. First of all, I want to thank you guys very much for having me back. I was here one other time a few months ago, and it is a delight to be here. As you indicated, I am a psychiatrist. I was formerly a professor in the University of Nevada School of Medicine. And when I retired in 2002, I spent 3.5 years researching and writing my book, We Really Lost This War, subtitled 25 Reasons to Legalize Drugs. Our drug war is not a failure. It's a monumental fiasco. We cannot win the drug war. And so I wrote the book, did about 40 talk shows around the country. I'm talking about on real radio now. I'm talking about, like driving radio.
Could we get that book?
The book is no longer available. It's sold out, but it's going to be available in the next 3 to 4 weeks as an e-book. Because there's been so many changes, some of which we'll talk about during this show, that I needed to update it, and then it'll come out as an e-book, and probably a couple of months after that it will again be available. But if people want to read about the book, they can certainly go to my website. It's got a bunch of free pages of the book, of the different chapters, as well as the table of contents. Each of the 25 chapters.
What's that web address?
The web address is 25reasons.org. 25reasons.org, and you can read several of the free pages, see all 25 reasons. Each of the 25 chapters is by itself a standalone legitimate reason to end the drug war. When you put them all together, it's overwhelming. Now, let me explain that as a physician, the only reason I'm in favor of legalizing drugs is because it dramatically reduces drug use and drug demand. The drug war and incarceration accomplishes absolutely nothing. There are now 3 countries that have proven beyond any doubt that when you legalize, they have much less drug use than we do.
What are those 3 countries?
The countries are the Netherlands now with 37, 38 years of decriminalization, Portugal with 6 years of success with legalization, and Switzerland has a fabulous program where they just give free heroin to the worst hardcore methadone-resistant heroin addicts.
Free heroin?
Free heroin, free needles.
Do you know how many American drug users would love to hear that word?
Well, yeah, but let me tell you what happens when you give it to them. You see, what happens when, and when we elected Obama 2 years ago, the Swiss people voted by a vote of 67%, 2-1, to make this program a permanent program in Switzerland because the results were so spectacular. So anyone that tells you that making drugs legal will increase drug use is telling you a bold-faced lie.
Okay, doctor, I understand your statistics and stuff.
Jim heard enough.
But so let's go back to the.
Is he ready to light up a doobie already? We're just getting started, and he already wants a doobie.
So for the listeners, what are the 3 countries? Again,
the 3 countries are the Netherlands, Portugal, and Switzerland.
Okay, out of those 3 countries, how many of them have liberated and freed as many people as the United States of America?
Liberated from where?
What I'm trying to get at is that, they're all drugged out and they're having fun and all this stuff.
No.
That's
We're
all
more
great.
drugged out than they are. Sorry.
Well, yeah, okay, that may be the point, but I'm just saying
that is
that
the point, yeah.
What's the influence that those 3 countries have in the world compared to the United States of America?
You know, that has about as much to do with this discussion as how popular bowling is in Ethiopia. They're just about that closely related. Can you please connect that with me?
Well, I'm trying to say that how is legalizing drugs? Why do you want the United States of America to become Portugal or Sweden or the Netherlands? I mean, come on.
No, I didn't say I want them to become that country. I say I want them to learn from the. I want us to learn from every country that has success with anything.
Right.
We are hardly the world's experts in everything. We are certainly the experts in arrogance. We are certainly the experts in starting wars. But we are hardly the experts in a lot of other things.
Okay, well, I understand that, but that seems to me like you got a little bit of anti-American sentiment in there.
There was none of that at all, my friend. You read that in. I didn't say that or imply that in any way, shape, or fashion.
You said that
I am a proud veteran and a proud American.
Oh no, I'm not saying that you're not.
Well, you just said that. You just said.
No, that's what you're reading into what I said. Now you're reading into what I'm saying.
Well, let's move on. But,
okay.
I just want to make for the record extremely clear that I am entirely pro-American. Right. I want this country to return to its prior role in the world as the leader in greatness in every aspect.
So how is legalizing drugs going to help America grow?
Well, that's a fabulous question. Now we're talking. That's related to what we're talking about.
Okay.
All right. First of all, it will create hundreds of thousands of jobs. Hundreds of thousands.
How so?
Let me explain it. It's going to do it in two different arenas. The first arena is in the hemp arena, and I have here, I should have brought the whole book, which I have at home, but I just brought the page where I ordered the book. It's called Hemp for Victory, the $1 Trillion Crop. Hemp is an incredible herb, incredible plant that would grow in most of our states. It makes fuel, paper, wood, and 25,000 other products from shampoo to lipstick. The United States is the only industrialized country in the world that cannot grow and process hemp. Why? Because hemp is in the cannabis family of plants. Now, you could smoke 100 tons of hemp and you would not get high.
Okay.
But because it's in the same family, and because our government has been lying to us for decades about the drug war, they have to keep us from using hemp. Ooh. So making hemp legal would reduce our dependence on foreign oil.
Dr. Frye, there's two things I wanted to get back to. Why did you say America starts wars when there's so many countries that, especially in the African countries, that start a lot of wars? In fact, they still have wars going on right now.
Correct.
And you talk about...
that's, again, not related to what we're talking about.
Right. But you brought it up, though.
I did, yeah.
So I'm just going... You opened up the door, so I'm just walking through. And the other thing is, you're saying that our government has lied to the American people about the drug war.
Absolutely.
Why is that? Why are you saying that? What does America have to gain by lying to its people about the drug war?
Because politicians get elected by saying we can win the drug law and build more prisons and put people in jail. That sells votes, and that gets votes, and that gets politicians elected. The fact of the matter is, if we cannot keep hundreds of thousands of immigrants from coming into this country every year, and we cannot even keep drugs out of jail, tell me how we're ever going to keep them off the street.
Is that the same when there's a rumor I heard that Germany has a cure for cancer? Is that the same to say the American government is lying to its people about the cure for cancer?
I know nothing about that. I can't comment.
To put pharmaceuticals in the red, in black as far as making money?
It's not related, and I don't know anything about it. I can't comment.
Okay. I'm just trying to compare.
I don't know anything about that. Okay. I do know they lied to us about weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. That was a bold-faced lie. There are no weapons of mass destruction, but that was given as the reason to go in and start a war.
Well, they said they moved the weapons.
Yeah, right. So you believe they were there?
I'm just trying to play devil's advocate.
Oh, okay. Then you don't believe.
Well, you know,
I like a devil's advocate.
I served in the Gulf War. I was in Saudi Arabia and Kuwait, and they were sending all those was it Scuds, I think, at the time? They were sending all those Scuds across the Iraqi border into Kuwait and Saudi Arabia.
Well, thank you for your service also, but the only reason I make the point is to say that our government does not always tell the truth. No government does.
And plus the Saddam regime killed the Kurdish people as soon as we got out of there with chemicals.
Okay. Can we get back to the drug war, please?
But it's you saying that there was no weapons of mass. That's another door you opened up again. I'm just walking right through. You said there was no weapens of mass destruction.
I'm gonna let's keep it to what is.
Stop opening up these doors,
You're
Doc.
right. I have to stop. You're absolutely right. I have to stop opening the doors.
Well, Dr. Frye, one of the things I wanted to ask you honestly, though, is that you talk about we need to stop the drug war, and it's obvious that you're very passionate about that, and you wrote a book about it, and you have a lot of information on it. But one of the things that, and I'm someone who follows politics a lot, I can't remember the last time, I would have to go back to President Reagan with Nancy, First Woman Nancy at the time with the Just Say No, I can't remember the last time that I've heard a politician running for office, a major office, actually using the drug war as being one of their major points to run for office.
You're absolutely correct. There are very few people that have taken the time and energy to research it as I have, to write a book and become an international expert on the topic, so that they haven't done that. But I'm sure the same was true of slavery when they had slavery, that there weren't a whole lot of people.
Now, what does that have anything to do with the drug war?
Well, because when major societal changes take place, somebody has to lead the march.
Right.
Somebody has to open the door for a legitimate discussion, which leads me to this incredible report that came out just last month by the Global Commission on Drug Policy.
Okay.
Now, this is an incredible commission consisting of 4 former presidents of Mexico, Colombia, Brazil, and Switzerland, along with Kofi Annan from the United Nations and Richard Branson from Branson Industries and Virgin Airways. Now, this global commission has said we cannot win the war on drugs. We must end it. A week after this came out, former President Jimmy Carter sent a letter to the New York Times, says he supports this 100%. So we now have 5 former presidents who are not running for re-election, who have no vested interest, who are saying we have to stop the war on drugs.
Well, I'm going to have to stop you on that one because, first Jimmy Carter, he was a former president of the United States, but those other presidents were not presidents of the United States.
No, they're presidents of Colombia, Mexico, Brazil, and Switzerland.
And they are presidents of countries that actually produce most of the drugs.
Yes.
So it's to their advantage to stop the war on drugs.
Explain that to me.
So you're advocating that we should stop the war on drugs, and you're pointing out that you have presidents of countries that produce mass amounts of drugs. Right. Of course they're going to be proponents of not fighting the drug war, because if there's a drug war, they lose money.
Explain that, how they lose money if there's a drug war and
Because we're trying to stop drugs from coming into this country. If it becomes a free-for-all and legal like you want it to be, then they're going to make a ton more money.
You think we can't grow cocaine and marijuana in the United States?
Well, I didn't say that. I'm just saying that
these
these people that you're
pointing to... Well, if we can grow it in the United States, they're going to lose money because they're no longer going to be selling it to us, aren't they?
Yeah, well, I mean,
so if they're going to lose money, explain to me how they're going to make money by ending the drug war.
They're going to make money because now it's a free-for-all.
They're saying this for humanitarian reasons. They're tired of seeing the deaths and the war and people being killed. The drug war is a real war.
Oh, no, it's a real war, and a lot of people are dying, and that's true.
And in this country, a lot.
But how many people are going to die if you just open up the floodgates and say, hey, use as many drugs as you want?
We just established now 3 different times that when drugs are legalized, illegal means regulate, tax, and control like alcohol, that drug use goes way down. The problem is the drug dealer. The only way to get rid of the drug problem is to get rid of the drug dealer. If any relatives of yours ever get hooked on drugs, it's going to be because a dealer gave them a sample, not because you said, you should really get high.
Yeah.
So when you get rid of the drug dealer, you get rid of the drug problem, and drug use goes down, and crime goes down, and AIDS goes down, and hepatitis goes down, and high school graduation goes up.
Okay, you're going to have to explain that.
I want to explain it.
Go ahead.
But just be really clear that don't say again, please, that when you legalize drugs, the use is going to go up, because 3 countries have shown it goes down.
Well, I didn't say it was going to go up. What I was saying is
the word explode.
I was pointing at your report that you talk about former presidents, and they're going to make a lot of money off that.
Well, I'm just saying to you that they are not, because the United States has the ability to grow and sell and process and transport and do all the legal stuff. So we are not going to buy any more from Mexico or Colombia. So they are not going to. That premise is totally incorrect.
Okay.
Totally incorrect. All right. Now, the next question you asked was high school graduation. Let's talk about that. There was a front page story in USA Today about 3 years ago when I was in the end stages of writing the book that indicated in our 10 biggest cities, the high school dropout rate was 50%. But in 3 cities, Detroit, New York, and Baltimore, the high school dropout rate was 60%. Well, that got me thinking, what do these 3 cities have in common? Huge drug problems. So then I said to myself, gee, I wonder what the high school graduation rate is in the Netherlands, where drugs have been regulated and controlled for 37 years. Their high school graduation rate is 92%.
Yeah.
That's no child left behind.
Okay, so what's the GDP of the Netherlands?
That I don't know.
It's a hell of a lot less than the United States of America, which is $10.3 trillion last year.
Well, they have a lot. They only have 17 million.
My
people.
argument is yeah, okay, that's fine that, okay, they got legalized drugs and everybody's happy and cool, but they're not an influential power in the world like we are.
Oh, so that means we should not do something to improve our society.
Well, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I just don't think that legalizing every kind of drug is going to be the answer to it.
Well, you know, during Prohibition, a lot of people said the same thing you said about alcohol.
Right.
They said that legalizing alcohol was not going to solve any problems either. What problems did it solve? Well, I'll tell you what problems it solved. It got rid of Al Capone and all the crime.
Yeah.
Deaths from bad hooch went way down because everybody was getting good hooch.
Yeah.
Taxes went way up because the government was taxing alcohol. When's the last time you knew anybody that used any moonshine?
So there's no...
let's finish. This is the one discussion. Do you know anybody that uses moonshine anymore? No. Everybody buys their alcohol in a liquor store.
Right.
It's controlled and taxed and regulated.
And there's no problems to legalizing alcohol. We don't have... Let's take Las Vegas. DUIs.
We do have all that stuff.
Yeah.
But it's a whole... No one is talking about going back to Prohibition again because those are dramatically less. We're talking about the lesser of two evils.
Okay, so your argument is it's the lesser of two
evils.
Okay.
That's exactly
That's
right.
your point. Okay.
There's no perfection. So what we do is we get the least amount of societal damage, the most amount of individual responsibility. Mm-hmm. If somebody commits a car accident when high on heroin or meth, they're still totally responsible, just like the guy on alcohol.
Well, I think that's the thing, Doctor, that we need to work on is because there was an incident, I think it was about 10 years ago, where a former stripper or whatever, she was high on marijuana, and she ran over some kids that were working on doing community work on the side of the highway, and they were trying to figure out, is it really a DUI, because they didn't know how to measure how many nanograms would actually, like with the blood alcohol level limits.
Well,
so I think
let's talk about the concern about the car issue and driving.
Yeah,
I heard a guy the other day on the radio talked about one of the benefits of legalizing drugs is that people that smoke marijuana drive much more slowly than people that don't. I can tell by that laugh that he's done it. That laugh tells me right over there that you've done it.
Are you being a psychiatrist again?
I am, yeah.
Okay.
I'm being a psychiatrist. So, and that is a fact. And that's why that people that drive under the influence of marijuana have no more accidents than people that drive under the influence of orange juice, which is very different than alcohol, which is catastrophic. Two independent studies, one by the United States Highway Traffic Safety Commission and one by the New Zealand Traffic Safety Commission, which evaluated emergency room data as well as simulators, just like pilots used, so that people on pot have no more accidents than people who are using nothing. And the reason for that is exactly what we just talked about, that they're driving more slowly, which more than compensates for the slight decreased hand-eye discoordination. So there are less accidents. Now, let's talk about the difference between causation and association. If we did a blood aspirin level on everybody admitted to the Las Vegas jail, we would find a lot of people with aspirin. Now, does that mean the aspirin is causing the crime? Heck no. Right. It just means that because so many people use aspirin, you're going to find it in a certain percentage of cases. So the fact that this lady had marijuana in her blood doesn't necessarily mean that the marijuana caused it. It would depend on how much she smoked, how far before, and even so, the statistics are that because she drove so much more slowly, it's extremely unlikely that the marijuana caused it. The other significant question is, was there any other drugs in her system?
Right.
Was she on alcohol?
But how do you regulate that, though? Because my point is that, like, if you get pulled over and a cop tells you to blow and you're over 0.008 with your blood alcohol level, then, okay, now that's a DUI.
Depends on who's driving. The cop will say to blow. Yeah.
But now with all these other drugs, say you're using heroin, how can they test to see how much heroin is actually impairing you not to be able to drive, or is not where you can't function normally?
They can do blood levels on these things and determine whether that's responsible for the accident or not. Everyone who does drugs and causes any damage, whether it's domestic violence or an automobile accident, needs to be accountable, just as people who use alcohol.
All right, Dr. Frye, I have to stop the conversation and I have to ask you a question before we go because we're running out of time. Don't look at your watch.
I'm here all afternoon.
He just pulled a George Bush. You looked at your watch.
I don't have to be at work till Tuesday.
Aren't you married?
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you got kids, right?
Yeah, but they're mid-30s.
Got grandkids?
Not yet.
So you have nothing to do all day?
Oh, I always have stuff to do.
All right, good. Anyways, so the question is, why are you running for Congress?
Now we're talking the good stuff. The reason I'm running for Congress is, and I have an exploratory committee that has already been established, and we're just getting ready to hire a campaign manager here. The reason is because this is...
You want me to recommend somebody for you?
I would.
Okay.
Yeah. The reason is that this is the passion of the rest of my life, getting rid of putting people in jail just for smoking pot. Pot is also an incredible medicine. It's the safest medicine in the world. Pot is the safest over-the-counter prescription or recreational drug in the world. You cannot die from pot. When I give talks to doctors and medical students, I tell them anyone who provides me documentation of one death, I'll give them $50. I have never opened my wallet.
Well, let's go back to pot really quick.
Sure.
Because like I said, we're running out of time, Doc. Don't look at your watch.
Okay.
Is marijuana good for PTSD?
Absolutely.
Okay.
No question. You know that. You just want me to get it on the record.
I want you to say to the listeners,
that for veterans, it's incredible that we put people in jail for using such a remarkably safe, incredibly beneficial, scientifically documented, valuable medicine for 50 different conditions.
So, Doc, you can tell me flat out that my dad died of lung cancer at 47 years old, and the fact that he smoked pot pretty much every single day of his life, pot was not a factor in him getting lung cancer.
Not only can I tell you that, I'm going to tell you how I can document that. Did he also smoke cigarettes?
Yeah.
That's the factor. So Dr. David Melamed, who is a pulmonologist at the University of Colorado School of Medicine, did a study where he compared pot smokers to smokers of pot and cigarettes and non-smokers. And the interesting thing is that pot smokers had no more incidence of cancer than non-pot smokers, but the people that smoked cigarettes and pot had a lower incidence of lung cancer than those that smoke just cigarettes, which means not only does pot not cause lung cancer, it's actually carcinoprotective. So the pot not only did not cause your dad's lung cancer, it may have kept him alive a little longer.
Okay.
All right, Dr. Frye, thank you for being on the show.
It is my pleasure. I appreciate it. Look forward to coming back again, and we'll keep you posted as the campaign progresses.
And I wish you much success.
Thank you.
And I was going to say, good luck to you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Always enjoyed being with you.
I just love your attitude. It's just nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, and the reason why I ask you hard questions is because these are questions that are going to come up during the campaign. So that's all it was about.
They're all covered in my book. The website for the book is 2525reasons.org, and people can also go to my my campaign website. Where's that flyer? They can also go to my campaign website, and we accept donations of any dimension, fryefornevada.com.
And not French fry.
Thanks again, guys. Really appreciate it.
All right,
Thanks, Dr. Frye.
That's Dr. Stephen Frye, candidate for United States Congressional seat. Like I said, we don't know what seat because we're redistricting. This is Steve Sanson, Jim Jonas. Don't go away, folks, because we have Charles Stigger, who is the expert on cleaning up your credit report.
Are you a business owner struggling during these economic times? Please listen up. How would you like to put your business and services in front of every resident and business in the Las Vegas Valley for less than a penny per home? Yes, that's right. I said less than 1 cent per home and business. And how would you like to have a dynamic and exciting online presence with the major search engines? How about an online video for your business and a fully optimized website with absolutely no setup fee? Hi, my name is George. If you are interested in these and other services that can make your phone ring with clients and prospects, then call me at 702-296-8394. Just call George at 702-296-8394. Thank you.
What are you doing online? I'm checking out the belly dance class we took last week. Where's it at? TakeBackYourBelly.com.
That's right.
We worked our arms.
We worked our abs.
We worked so hard
And had a blast. No matter what your shape or size, come belly dance, you'll be surprised.
For class schedule and location, log on to takebackyourbelly.com or call 219-3151.
Hey, listen up. If you're a military veteran, if you're related to a veteran, or if you know a veteran, you'll enjoy the Veterans Reporter radio show every Thursday from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. with me. I'm your host, Chuck N. Baker. Every week, we will explore veterans' issues and we'll have guests who will talk about topics of interest to and about the veterans community. And if you don't listen, you'll have to give me 20 push-ups.
Veterans in Politics takes a proactive approach to provide you, the veteran, with the political voice for which you fought and served.
Veterans in Politics is becoming the premier veteran organization of the 21st century, with political candidate interviews, insight, and endorsements.
Public speaking engagements in support of American values.
Radio shows to keep you updated on the latest in veteran and military support operations.
Providing job placement and business support.
Go to veteransinpolitics.com today and do your part in defending liberty.
While growing up, I've always asked my family, who is my father? I was told the name of a man. When I became older, I looked for this man and found him. He thought that I was his son as well, but after a DNA test, it was discovered that my family was lying to me all my life. I pressured my family to give me the real identity of my father. I then became suspicious and took my grandfather's DNA. After I buried my grandfather, 2 days later I discovered that my grandfather was in fact my biological father. I questioned myself and asked, what is my purpose on this earth? I should have never been conceived. But when I look at my 4 children, I knew that everything happens for a reason. This is Steve Sanson. Find your identity.
This is Jim Jonas asking you to listen to Veterans in Politics. Veterans in Politics is a weekly broadcast internet talk show hosted by myself, Jim Jonas, and Steve Sanson, president of Veterans in Politics Incorporated, that airs every Saturday from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. at www.vegasallnetradio.com. Veterans in Politics' sole purpose is to teach, educate, and inform veterans on issues and the candidates that will affect them. Too many politicians say they support veterans and their issues, but their actions tell a different story. Here at Veterans in Politics, we will expose these politicians by giving them a chance to come in and explain their actions to veterans so veterans can truly make informed decisions. Listen every Saturday to stay informed and to hold politicians accountable for their votes.
Well, we are back. This is Steve Sanson, Jim Jonas with Veterans in Politics. Live in studio, we have Charles Stigger, an expert on cleaning up that doggone credit report that the economy made us get into. Charles, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm doing real good. Charles, could you tell us a little about yourself?
Sure. I've been working with credit heavily for about the last 4 years. Over that time, I've
And what do you mean by heavily? What does that mean?
Meaning, I started off as an engineer. I'm nowhere close to working in finance, but I did that, and I did some stuff in real estate, and then I came over here to Vegas and started working in credit, and I've learned so much over that period of time that I consider myself to be one of the better people in the country now on consumer credit issues.
He said the whole doggone country. We have how many? 300 and something million people.
360, I think, was the last time.
Best in the whole country. Charles,
one of the better ones. Yes.
All right, cool. So how do you clean up credit report? And what do you find that's on there that needs to be removed because it drops your score tremendously?
Well, the way that I like to explain things to people is that the whole financial system of the country is based upon consumerism. So in order to be able to perform in that particular environment, you need to play by that particular set of rules in order to be able to consume things. So in other words, everything that you get from bank accounts to going out and buying TVs or cars or homes or anything that has to do with purchasing and or getting things on credit is governed by this system. So if you live in America or any place else that is governed by a heavily consumer-oriented credit system, you are going to play by that rule one way or the other.
So, Charles, is it better to not pay your debts and just let it linger on your credit report and hopefully that the statute of limitations is going to pop up and they can't come after you? Or should one go ahead and get a bankruptcy to just discharge everything? Which one would be considered better?
Neither of the above, as far as I'm concerned. Basically, the thing that people need to understand is that credit is actually a measure, a credit score is a measure of your risk to a lender or someone that would do business with you about your ability to be able to pay for that good or service. So, in essence, if you start today and you start exhibiting the behaviors that they expect a normal average consumer of age 35 or 40 or whatever your age group happens to be, if you exhibit the characteristics that they're looking for and like, you'll have a high credit score. And if you exhibit anything less than that, you'll have a low credit score. So it doesn't take an infinite amount of time, but it also doesn't happen overnight.
So neither one of the two is better.
Exactly.
But if you had to go with one, which one would you go with?
If you've gotten yourself into a hole and you've dug in, then my first thing to say is stop digging.
Right.
Literally. All you have to do is you have to, even though you may have dozens of entries on your credit report that show that you used to be a deadbeat back in 2009, and thus far up to this point, you're continuing to exhibit deadbeat characteristics. If you will open and pay some secured accounts that you can get in your name, then you can start to exhibit the right kinds of characteristics. And if you show that you'll exhibit a pattern over many accounts over the next 6 months, it will override what you've done in the past that is bad. Now, of course, if you've got a lot of bad debt and some judgments and other things, you should take care of those things and work on paying them off and settling them and getting those things removed from your credit report. But it's not absolutely mandatory that you fix anything from the past to be able to move forward today.
So, Charles, say you have one credit card, right, that has, for whatever reason you lost your job or whatever, and they keep calling and calling and calling and calling like, hey, you're not paying us. And then they turn you over to a credit agency. Collections. And then once you go into collections, then you start, because you can't settle the debt.
Absolutely, you can.
Sometimes they'll offer that, but you do not have the money to settle the debt. So is it better to just go ahead and start paying whatever the settlement may be?
I assist people and direct people to attorneys that do bankruptcy. So there are certain situations wherein somebody is so deep in the hole where bankruptcy is probably going to be their best option. But typically, the only people that I'll send to a bankruptcy attorney or direct them as to how they would go about filing their own bankruptcy pro se is somebody who is at least $30,000 in unsecured debt.
Right.
That have attempted to work with those creditors to come up with a solution that will work out. That these creditors have offered no settlement options that can even remotely be worked out, and that they are going to sue you, and you have a W-2 income job where they can come and actually get a garnishment order and take your money out of your bank account.
Yeah, because one of the things that I found interesting is I have a friend of mine, and he's like, well, I said, a lot of these credit card companies will actually try to settle with you. And he's like, yeah, but I owe $30,000 and they want to settle for $12,000. He goes, I can't come up with $12,000 to settle that.
Well, that's absolutely true. So what I tell people sometimes that are in those types of situations is, I don't know of any situation where I've told somebody to do this and they've actually done it and they've actually gone ahead and gotten sued. You put together a financial declaration and you show what you're able to afford, and you work with the one that's going to work with you most readily and easily, and you work on settling that one out. And to the other ones, you get in touch with them and you let them know, whether they be a collection agency or original creditor, that look, based upon where my income and status is right now, and I'll be glad to send you a copy of it over and everything, this is all that I can afford. I'm eligible for Chapter 7 bankruptcy, and if I need to, I'll invoke that, and I'll crush you, and you'll get nothing. Yeah. But I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take care of this debt over here first, and I'm going to send you $30 a month until I'm in a position to be able to take care of you, and start sending the money. They're not sending it back.
Right.
And they're also not going to turn you over to a collection attorney to stop the $30 a month that's coming in to go sue you if you have exhibited good faith before they have to go ahead and take some kind of action.
So what about once you're in a position where they've already turned you over to a collection agency?
Fine, same thing. Again, if you're sending money in on a good faith basis, I don't know of one situation where they're going to go ahead and pay an attorney to try to get more money out of you when you've already declared in writing and sent it to them and showed them that you have no ability, and furthermore that you have the ability to be able to bankrupt them and get a complete wipeout under Chapter 7 or something reasonably equivalent under Chapter 13.
Yeah, so explain, I understand what Chapter 7, Chapter 13 is, but explain that to the listeners, what the difference is between
a Chapter 7 bankruptcy is called a liquidation bankruptcy, and a lot of people don't really understand bankruptcy in general, but literally a bankruptcy is just a government-sponsored debt settlement, period. So it's just an option that you have available on your table. So if you go into Chapter 7 with a liquidation bankruptcy, if you have enough of a low income, typically about $40,000 for a single person, then you're allowed to, under the means test, get into that Chapter 7, and they will zero out your debts. You may only do that once every 8 years, but you can completely zero your debts out and pay nothing. But using a bankruptcy when you have $4,000 worth of unsecured debt is absolutely useless. Yeah. It's like killing a fly with an atomic bomb.
Right. Yeah.
For what?
So Charles, if you're selling a debt, would it be advisable for the creditor to put something in writing saying that they're going to remove the debt from your credit report?
Absolutely. So let's just say that with this gentleman that you were speaking about that has $30,000 worth of debt, let's say that he has $10,000 on one card and $10,000 on another and $5,000 on two more. So he's got four debts that are outstanding. Go and find out who's the most willing to negotiate with you, and start working with that $10,000 card. And again, put the rest of them in a holding pattern by showing again financially that you can only afford to make certain payments to them, and put all the rest of them in $30 a month payment holding patterns. Yeah. And then with the other one that you can afford, typically debt will be able to be settled once it's turned over to collections at 50 cents on the dollar or less. It takes someone with just a pulse and a heartbeat to be able to settle at 50 cents on the dollar. Often they'll go down as low as 35 cents on the dollar, and routinely I'm successful at getting people to settle at 10 to 15 cents on the dollar, depending upon the age and the nature of the debt.
Right.
How do you feel about the president want to increase the debt ceiling?
I think that's absurd. Ultimately, the entire economy will collapse if it continues to go down that path. You can't continue to borrow more and more and ultimately have higher and higher interest that's eating up your ability to be able to pay for discretionary items.
So do you suggest that people should pay for items in cash, and if they can't afford it, they don't need it, so to speak?
I think that cash is fine, and I understand the philosophy behind wanting to pay for things cash. But again, unless you have enough cash to be able to buy a house and buy a car and buy everything that you need in cash, ultimately you're going to run into.
I'm talking about not have. I understand the house and sometimes maybe the car, but these cars are getting cheaper and cheaper by the dozen, anyways. But what about credit cards? Well, should people not get these credit cards, because these credit cards are the ones that's putting people in financial situations in the first place?
What I teach and what's available in my book is that you can actually, again, go into most credit unions and put down money to secure the ability to be able to borrow some money from them. And then you can set up a game where essentially you repay yourself with that money that you've borrowed, and by establishing that you'll pay back that money, you're really just circulating your own money around in a circle and paying a little bit of interest on it. But by doing that, you're increasing your score, so then when you need something like going to buy a car or getting a credit card, then you've played the game long enough to be able to show that I will pay my debts.
Okay. Well, Charles, thank you for coming out and talking about this credit. What would you call it, Jim?
Yeah, right now it's a mess for most people.
Yeah, is it safe to say 9 out of 10 people have a screwed up credit report?
at least 70% of the country has scores that are under 620. It's horrible right now. And the number that I heard as of December is like 42 million or 43 million people out of 180 million households has a score under 600.
So why do we have 3 credit reporting agencies? Shouldn't we just have one?
They all grew out of the Wild West when people would come out and they wanted to be able to escape and move from town to town and rip off the next merchant. So they set up merchant associations to report who's the one that's taking our stuff and not paying.
Right.
So they've been around for a long time, but 3 of them basically conglomerated into a large enough size where they're completely private, privately held. Companies, multi-billion-dollar companies that hold records on you.
Well, thank you so much, Charles. You have contact information?
Certainly. If you wish, you may give me a call at 702-521-0900, or you can come to the website www.2becreditsmart.com. Again, www.2becreditsmart.com.
Well, that's Charles Stigger, and this is Steve Sanson, Jim Jonas with Veterans in Politics. Until next week, and next week, folks, we're going to have the former First Lady, Dawn Gibbons, and we're also going to have Dwight Johnson. I believe that's the last name, Dwight Johnson. He is the superintendent of Clark County School District. Until next week.